everybody, it's me, John Ward, and welcome back to another One Filmmaker, One Film. And today my guest is...
Brian Hanson, writer-director here in Los Angeles.
A place where most of writer-directors are. It's like overflowing.
It's not as overflowing as it once was, as the industry sort of is able to dissipate into other cities. But yeah. LA is still the capital, no doubt.
Yeah. I lived there for a while. I'm in Vegas now. I was in California, and I'd go Marin County, like the Bay Area, then down to LA, and then back up and forth with friends down here, family up here. So it was trips back and forth quite a bit. But I love LA, even though a lot of people don't like it. So
yeah, I'm from San Diego originally. So
okay.
In the scheme of LA, or I'd say like the Hollywood community, which is so many transplants, just being 90 minutes south of LA sort of made me a local, because back in my bartending days, I could go home for the holidays and everyone, all your coworkers are from Michigan or Ohio or Georgia or New York, Massachusetts, and they have, they get to fly home maybe once per year. So they were always working those holiday shifts, and I lucked out because I could drive home in 2 hours. So SoCal, yeah. I'm a SoCal native.
Yeah, that's one reason why I like Vegas is I moved out here because it was cheaper than California, but it's 4 hours. So it's just pretty much a straight shot out there and a straight shot back. So if I want to visit friends or go to a concert or whatever it is, it's right there. So it's really easy to do.
I feel like LA, San Diego, if you count that as like one giant, metropolis, to Vegas and then to Phoenix, it's sort of this triangle that almost feels like the same area in a way.
Sure.
It's a little hotter there to the east, but it's so common. Like people from LA just, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to Vegas. Just last minute they'll decide, I'm just gonna drive to Vegas. So Vegas almost feels like it's part of California in a weird way.
Yeah, and if they ever get that train going, then
one of these decades it's going to happen.
Yeah, one of these. Yeah, exactly. So it's been planned for a long time. But thank you for being here. I really appreciated it, or I really appreciate it. We are here to talk about this movie right here, The Black String, and that is with Frankie Muniz. And I bought a DVD copy of it, and it's got some good special features. I immersed myself in this. So I watched the movie twice. I then listened to the audio commentary, behind the scenes, deleted extended scenes, trailer. I know everything on this desk. So I wanted to be prepared today to talk about this movie. So,
I appreciate it. We went the extra mile to put that, get those extra features for Grindstone Lionsgate, and they put it on the disc. So I'm glad you were able to indulge.
Yeah. And it's funny, is this looks really like a horror movie, while the poster I have up looks much more independent. It's because those independent movies always had the squares, like the guy would be up here and the girl would be down here, and then the tie would be in the middle.
So I put that poster together you're looking at. That was for our festival premiere, like our world premiere at the Austin Film Festival in 2018. And we needed a poster. And I'm much better all these years later. But at that point, I needed to jump on Photoshop and build something. So I was searching the internet for posters I liked. And when I saw that style, which we were all familiar with, the sort of 2 or 3 literally screen grabs that were kind of combined in a way, I said, I can do that. I could do that fast. I literally had to put it together, weeks before going. And we had so many other things to prepare for. I knew I couldn't try to step up to some professional poster style, which of course these days with AI, someone could do it in 3 seconds. But
sure,
that poster right there is me on Photoshop, probably at 2 a.m, because Austin Film Festival needed something. I like it. I like it as an alternate.
Yeah, because they're both different. It's just not like a copy of one another. So, and so the way that I discovered this is this is the great thing, and this leads to you being on the show today. Is I popped in a movie. I forget what movie it is. It was a horror film, but I forget what film. And I always let the trailers play because you might find something you've never seen. And all of a sudden, and out of all of them, this trailer popped up, and I watched it twice because I'm like, that looks interesting. Let me go back and actually pay attention to it. And because I always I get my food ready and a drink ready while I let the trailers play. And I'm like, let me watch this again. And I saw the trailer and I went, I want to buy this. This looks very cosmic horror-y. And I'm curious of what Frankie, Muniz can do. So let me see, and this came in, and I have on Sundays, I have a show with Philip OGP here on YouTube, and I said, why don't we watch this? Because we hadn't watched it yet, and he watched it online, and then I watched the DVD, and he's like, this is cool. You should definitely do something with this. And I'm like, maybe I'll see if I could get the director to come on and talk on one Filmmaker, because I found the film to be very interesting. And with looking at this and then looking at, like Wikipedia, seeing that, it says like the film draws comparisons to like It Follows, which I've seen, Jacob's Ladder, which I've seen. David Cronenberg, Shivers, Rosemary's Baby, you mentioned a fair amount in the audio commentary. But now Contracted. I'm like, what is Contracted? Then found out the sequel. So now I ordered both of those. So it's weird how these things kind of work out from just a trailer to people watching it, to you being here, to discovering other movies, because Contracted was also mentioned in the audio commentary. And I'm like, okay, this is all weird. This is like, there's way too many things together. And like the Contracted 2 Blu-ray is produced by a friend of mine, Cliff McMillan, for Scream Factory. So it's like, somehow we know, like, this is all connected in some weird way. Just
like the cult conspiracy in the Black String. It is all here to draw you on the, get me to interview you and bring you into the cult. I do the same thing. I love to deep dive. Where did this come from? Music too. I'll hear a band or a song and I'm like, but who influenced this, or where did this come from? And you just keep going back, and you start finding these cool connections. And I appreciate you doing the dive on it. That's why we made it. We made it for folks like ourselves who would appreciate the connections, the similarities, the nods and homages.
Yeah, and it's, I think having Frankie Muniz on here is a little bit of genius in a way, because you have Malcolm in the Middle. Somebody said, let's take Bryan Cranston, the comic-y, funny dad on the show. Let's put him in Breaking Bad. And of course, he's brilliant. So somebody sent the script to Frankie Muniz. Well, let's send it to the kid who plays Malcolm, and let's see what he does. So then we take this kid who has done a bunch of comedy, and now we put him in this really weird cosmic horror kind of drug homeless thing where he's all beat up and everything by the end. And it's like, you don't expect these things out of these people. It's like when you see Bill Murray doing a serious movie, or Robin Williams, 1 Hour Photo and stuff. It's these people that are in comedies can be very strange or frightening, and they give great dramatic performances.
I mean, even Jim Carrey dipped into this.
Yes.
It seems like, everyone who the comedians always got to try their hand at getting into the weird stuff at some point, or more serious. Yeah, I don't know if you're interested in hearing how we landed Frankie, but
please, I've been talking a lot. Please let me know all the info. Because my notes that I took while just watching the film, you kind of answered a lot of them in the audio commentary, but I still want to talk about them. But please let people know, how did you get Frankie Muniz?
So first, the Black String. So I have just real quick an interesting story. Yeah, I went to Cal State Northridge film program. And then I went out into the world as all new film graduates do, and I PA'd and I was an assistant. But I always bartended for some, like through college. I just leaned all the way into that because in 3 days I could make as much money as people were, my peers at that point were making as assistants. And in a week, I could make that in a weekend. So I realized as I just kind of leaned way more into making my own short films and writing my own scripts, that I'm just going to be the bartender who could take 2 weeks off at any point, go shoot something and come back. And my buddy and I wrote this. It was called the Darkness or something like that. It was a bit different, but this was born early, mid aughts. I ended up joining the Army out of patriotic and sort of artistic and life experience reasons. And I was gone for almost 4 years. Joined the Army, volunteered for the 75th Ranger Regiment, was stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, deployed the 3rd Ranger Battalion 3 times to Afghanistan. Movies were kind of put on the back burner as I had to live that life willingly and gladly. I came back in 2014 and used my GI Bill to go back to film school at Mount St. Mary's here in Los Angeles, the MFA film program. And I met another veteran, Navy vet, Rich Hanley, and we connected immediately. And during those 2 years, I talked about the script I had written before I joined the Army, and it just stuck with him. And when it came time for our thesis project, he said, "Why don't we team up and build a budget and a deck and rewrite, the script, give it a major rewrite and do that as a joint thesis?" And I said, "Okay," and we did that, and that led to actually making it. Gosh, I think within a year of graduating. So it was actually an idea that I was really had a lot of sleep paralysis experiences, which the documentary, The Nightmare, if anyone's seen that documentary about sleep paralysis and the history of the old hag or the succubus that sits in your chest, which in modern times is kind of understood, like a lot of people, the alien abducted me from my bedroom. It all kind of goes back to sleep paralysis. And is this just a, neurological scientific condition, or is this supernatural, metaphysical? So that laying in bed, as if you've seen The Black String, laying in bed and something creeping on you, it really was an intense experience for me, which I took the more scientific approach. Just chemistry is doing the weird things to your brain, and you just feel these intense emotions. But it was so strong, and I was big into David Lynch, love movies like Donnie Darko, the aforementioned Rosemary's Baby, and just that, are you crazy? Are you losing your mind, or is something really happening that you can't possibly explain to people? Like, rational people will never believe this. So that was there for a while. Once we realized we could make this as an indie feature, we had a lot of great mentors, and this production company that I worked with, Sheldon Brigman, my boss and mentor, came on as a producer and really helped us on that super ULB indie level, put a real package together that was commercially viable, which brings me to Frankie Muniz. We had some great actors, up and coming actors from notable agencies, and we were a month into the audition process. And the way that I had imagined Jonathan, the protagonist, was much more like a kid who smoked a lot of cigarettes, did drugs, and was looking pretty rough, and much more sort of dour and just edgy. We're like really edgy, like, ooh, that kid's had a tough go. So we're about to make the call and cast this. And our casting director, Jeremy Gordon, called me up out of the blue. "Hey man, before you make the call, hear me out. I just got a submission from APA's agency. They read the script and Frankie Muniz wants to read for it." And it was like, wait, what? Frankie Muniz, Malcolm in the Middle? Where has he been? This was like 2017. Just like, and I'd heard that he was racing cars. I knew that he had gotten into music, but I'm like, honestly, where has Frankie been? And immediately, we were a month into casting. We had made so many decisions and like watched so much tape. We were ready to just decide. And my experience working at that production distribution company was like, man, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Is that the saying? It's like,
Yeah.
you let him read, even though everyone else is 3 weeks further down the road. You let Frankie read. Frankie drives in from Arizona, where he was living, and probably didn't have the script for 48 hours and just did this audition for us that was what I saw immediately, the Breaking Bad thing, which literally was his dad in the show, the Bryan Cranston Breaking Bad turn. It's like, yeah, you completely think of this guy as funny, smartass, Malcolm. But our movie was about a guy who, what happened to him after high school? Like, something happened that's troubled him and really set him back. And Frankie just embodied that in the way he performed it. And he still had that sense of humor, and he has a dark sense of humor, which was perfect. And he understood the script. We had one more audition the next day, and it was like, we have to do this. He's great. It is not what I imagined originally, but holy cow, this is like, it's not always the way you envision it. Sometimes something comes out of left field, and if it's a great idea, and it's a little different, but it's a great idea, you got to go with it. And needless to say, Frankie Muniz and his body of work and what he's known for is just too much fun and too interesting to not do. So we cast Frankie, and best decision we made. Those other guys, they were fantastic, but Frankie just brought, you can't not see some Malcolm in the Middle in what he's doing. It's his persona. It's who he is, but he really twists it. Like, we really get to play on that, his persona and take it to darker places.
Yeah, and it's a shame, like with back in the day, people would get, typecast. So you would say, Frankie Muniz, isn't he on Malcolm in the Middle? He does comedies. Why would we want, go get somebody serious,
Right.
And probably way back in the day, if they had casted more of these people that were, okay, we have a horror film or drama, thriller, well, let's take somebody from a comedy and put them into it. They might have done really well instead of us seeing the serious guy who's in every serious thing.
Right.
So I that's one of the things when I saw the trailer, I'm like, this guy looks interesting in this. Let me see if he can pull this off, because one of my greatest disappointments in film is Seth Rogen in The Green Hornet. I mean, it was, why? It's like, dude, you're known as the pot guy. You could have done a Michael Keaton where everybody was like, Beetlejuice is Batman? What are you talking about? And he does a great job. And a lot of people, that's their favorite Batman. Seth Rogen could have done the same thing. He could have made the Green Hornet great. Instead, he just stayed Seth Rogen, which was a disappointment. So it's like, no, dude, don't be that guy. You're in the Green Hornet. So it's nice to see, Frankie Muniz not being Malcolm. He's a completely different character. He's and I got my theories on this whole thing. So it's like, well, I think because he works at the mini mart and
the lifestyle convenience boutique.
Yes, and I even wrote that down because I thought that was funny. Because, and you mentioned in the audio commentary, Goodwill. I worked at the Goodwill, but I worked at Deja Blue, which was the boutique version of Goodwill. So when he said that, I'm like, I do the same thing. I don't work at Goodwill. I worked at Deja Blue. So it's like, how dare you, And it's just that he just does. Well, I think Homeless Man Mike, because to let people know there is this homeless guy that we see a few times. I think that's Jonathan in the future. Because this is such a weird movie, he's seeing himself from the future come back.
And we were going to cast someone who looked a lot like Jonathan to play that role, to do what you were saying, to make that maybe even more obvious. Like, this is yeah, exactly. You're onto it, my friend. But just the way that it all went down, and we were a truly indie little ULB movie, just scrapping by and making everything happen we could. It became Gary Sievers did a great audition, and he's played this role, kind of the homeless guy on the corner, and we just couldn't find the right person for that vision. So we went with, but it still works. I'm glad you still drew that connection.
Yeah, because he's right at the window at the mini mart. He's in the kind of like the crack house that's there, and he has the little container, that says John, on it. What is it? John's party cans. I think it says.
Yeah. J Rock's party box.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm like,
party box.
I think this is him. I think he's seeing himself. And so how many days did you shoot on this?
This was an 18-day shoot, principal photography, but there was a lot of sort of second unit or pickup days that we did later. Inserts, things that we just weren't able to pull off within the principal photography. A lot of the little gory bits that takes a lot of time. You start slopping blood all around set, and you got to clean it and reset it. And sometimes a gag works, sometimes it doesn't. We a few times ate up the clock so much that we just kind of had to punt it and say, hey, these are all tight inserts. We can do that at another time when that's all we're focused on. So we shot maybe another 4 or 5 days of, like, maybe it was a half day. Maybe it was just John Orphan, who did an awesome job as a cinematographer, very talented guy, very small team, pulled some beautiful photography off. We maybe him and I would go grab some B-roll, grab lunch. So 18 principal, and then maybe 5 additional days. A lot of R&D, a lot of things like that portal on the wall, and just a lot of things. We worked with Eric Porn, who did awesome. His last name is, anyone who's in the industry here in the horror side of makeup effects knows Eric Porn. His last name really is Porn, Porn. Super talented guy. Really helped out in a lot of research and development of how gags would work. So, and we would take our time to figure a gag out, then we would go shoot it. So we worked on this, for another 6 months after we were done, just making sure that our insert shots we could pull off the right way, or certain gags we kind of tested them with iPhones, and then said, okay, let's call John and go shoot it for real.
Yeah, those effects look great. I mean, I love the kind of oil ooze that's, ceiling or wall or being, on the floor, and, kind of combined with blood. And if it's a portal, that means that people can go through it. And that stuff looked great. And one thing, I mean, kudos to that crack house, as I'm calling it, in the behind the scenes. Well, you see in one of the extended scenes, Frankie Muniz, Jonathan is on a bike and he goes up to the house. There's no graffiti on that house at all. And now, would it have been cheaper to spray paint stuff, or did you really want to do like that particular type of graffiti on there?
We could not. We weren't allowed. We would have had to repaint the place.
Oh,
yeah.
It's not abandoned?
It was just a budgetary concern. You know what? That is out in Santa Clarita, way off the 14, and it's used in big shows. Like that's been on CSI and all sorts of places. It's empty. It looks like it does. We roughed it up more. We put newspapers on the windows and threw the mattress and junk in there, but you could also clean it up and it might look like a rancher lives out there, or someone off a desert freeway. So it can look cleaner. We just went with the sparse sort of flop house, or crack house way out. And again, we all grew up with that right? We always knew the place when you were in high school. You could go, you and your buddies could ride your bikes out there and go drink a beer. And it was a little dangerous because sometimes maybe some rough characters would be in there. But I think everyone had that growing up, that spot that, you could go drink a beer, hang out, and then it was almost a little haunted or spooky or edgy vibe, but you were willing to drive out in the forest, or in this case, sort of a harsh desert terrain. And we wanted it to look like that.
Yeah, it looks really good. You guys did a great job. So I'm taking the outside and the inside are the same location, the same house?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, because in the audio commentary you mentioned, oh, my friend's house we used for this scene. Oh, my other friend we used in this scene. So there was, budget wise, were you able to save a fair amount of money by using a friend's car or going to a producer's house or CGI-ing graffiti?
Yeah, we had to. It wasn't even a debate. We didn't have the money to rent anything that we wanted. It was the good old fashioned indie effort. Use a friend's house. The liquor store was awesome. That's also out in Santa Clarita, real liquor store, but they were kind of open. It wasn't like we could just rent them out for 2 days. We would have to stop and let a customer come in, and they might have fun and hang out and watch us shoot a scene, and then or a couple takes, and then grab their beer and go. So the whole process was that true indie effort where you get what you can. If you can get it for free from a friend, God bless them. If you can't, could you find someone who will hook you up, even if you have to shoot while they're literally still open? And then some things we just could not obtain, so we had to pay for it. And in that case, it would be, we called it the Blue High Shack. That was our nickname for it. The Blue High Shack.
Yeah, and it looks like one. So, I meant to say this at the beginning because you mentioned that you were in the service. So thank you for your service, by the way.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I always regretted not joining. So it was, and now I look back and I'm like, I wish I did. But
that is, I didn't join right after college. I was making, like I said, here in LA doing the filmmaker, short filmmaker, screenwriter thing. And I just realized time was ticking and LA was still going to be here. You're here for many years and you see it's just the same cycle over and over. You get stuck in like, but next year will be the year something happens. And then 5 years go by and it's like, it's kind of the same thing over and over again. I knew I had to go because you're just going to run out of time or life circumstances will not let you leave. So I really just kind of went over to a recruiter and says, I need to go now because I need to get this done. I need to check this box. So I know the feeling, and that's why I went and did it when I did.
Yeah, my friend Philip, he joined the Marines, and he talks about that, and his family is very military, and I tell him all the time, I'm like, dude, I really wish I did it. It was a huge mistake. I mean, my grandfather was at Pearl Harbor, then he became an LA cop. And then he worked for like the bank securities for when people robbed banks. He would look at the footage.
Wow.
Yeah, you could make a movie out of his life. And my uncle was in the Air Force, but it's like, it really now kind of bums me out that I didn't do it. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And, there's not everyone can do it for various reasons, but there's always giving back to veterans, appreciating, honoring. There's a way to still participate in that, participate in it and support, which is so appreciated by the veteran community and active reserves also appreciate the kind gestures and honest gratitude. So I appreciate it, and I would say that anyone that feels that way, just I know they say thank a vet, but put it on Memorial Day, or go out and drop some flags on the tombstones, or Veterans Day. There's fun things. You can go run a 5K with veterans, or there's a lot of nonprofits. I should say, while we're on this topic, I volunteer heavily with an awesome nonprofit called Veterans in Media and Entertainment, VME, the letters Victor, Mike, Echo, VME. And it is a nonprofit organization, sort of networking organization that veterans that have just got out, military folks that have just got out and want to go into film. It's a tough industry. This is really tough to understand, especially coming out of the military that's so structured. So we have like people who have been around for a long time, mentors basically, that explain things. We have panels. Studios in LA are so kind. They'll bring us on for studio visits, or showrunners will bring in 20 veterans and just explain kind of closed door sessions, what it's really like. There's so many great opportunities. So Hollywood, for sort of the reputation as it gets for being, anti-military or these things, I'd have to say in my experience that the industry as a whole is really supportive of the veteran and military community.
That's good. Okay, that's great. Have you used your experience in the military in any of your films, like any stories, or just, you know, like, no, that's not how you would hold a gun. You would hold it this way, that type of thing.
For sure. Not so much on the black string, but there's a structure. There's just a way that the military operates. It's very similar to film production. You have an objective that needs to be met at the end of the day. You're fighting time, you're fighting environment. You have groups of specialists, like not the rank specialists, but you have like very, you know, like you got your infantry people, you got your intel, you know, you've got your JTACs, you've got your artillery folks. Like there's you got your sniper team. Like just like you've got camera, you've got G&E, you've got art department. It's the same thing, and everyone is moving in coordination, bringing their skill set to bear to complete the objective at the end of the day, over and over and over again. And the greater objective is completing that movie on time. 12 days, 18 days, 3 months, whatever it is. So I found that really similar. And then I have worked on a couple projects since then. I got hired through VME by HBO to be a veteran trainee on Barry season 1, HBO's Barry with Bill Hader. And they ask me often, hey, what rank would he be? What is this? What is that? We had a real military advisor that would come on for the big gun days, the big battles, gunfire fights. But day in and day out, costumes would come by and ask me a question, or art department would ask me a question. So that was super cool that they valued, you know, my insight. And then since then, I did a cool little streaming show on Vet TV called Night Visions, which is like a creep show for the military. And then I just did the bunker sci-fi thing where it's not super military, but we did wherever I could put a little authenticity, and I did. So yeah, I've sprinkled it here and there, and it's something that I can lean on, having that particular insight. I can't do that as a neurosurgeon. You got to go find a neurosurgeon to give good advice there. But when it comes to military things, I can add a little level of authenticity that, you know, your average Joe might not be aware of.
Yeah, I've always liked listening to audio commentaries with people who have done the job that is in the film, and going, well, that's not the right uniform. Wait, that was invented 2 years later. Wait a minute,
Yep.
And then wait, that's not correct. You wouldn't wear that hat with that, you know. And you wonder, like, did people just kind of throw all this stuff together? Like, oh, it's a Navy hat with an Army jacket. Nobody will know. Nobody will know, but they do know. So it's
a lot of command and control. You know, costumer may not know this stuff, and they try to learn as much as they can in a short period of time, and they're getting it right 90% of the time. But then chaos ensues. You're rushing to get things off, and people grab things and throw it on, and then maybe the military advisor just didn't get eyes on it right before it happens, and then boom, there you go, something slips through. Some shows certainly don't care, and you can tell because they're so off. But every military movie is not 100%. Like, no military movie has hit 100%. Some have come close, but that takes such a level of control, and to have enough people and the time to spot check before that actor, before that prop is put in front of camera and ready to go. You have someone literally like a PMI pre-mission inspection. They look head to toe to make sure that that's good to go. And you don't in movies get crazy, and time is, you know, you're losing time, you're losing sun, and then you have to make everything move faster, and that's where those little authenticity mistakes or that's where things can go wrong. But, you know, your average public doesn't notice, and that's for us military folks on the Reddit threads or wherever to make comments and pick apart things that no one else notices.
Right. Yeah. So it's always funny. So I have another theory about this movie. It's the Matrix. That the very beginning of the film, Jonathan gives back wrong change to a young girl, and it looks like maybe like her mother or grandmother. And this is in the mini mart. And she's like, you gave wrong change. He's like, what, really? And then he kind of continues to look at the change. That to me is the moment when it's like, what is wrong? Is he then for the rest of the film shifts between two different realities. So it's the psychic that helps him some of these other people that are good would kind of be like the rebels. And then the people that are like the Man in Black, or some of these other people that would kind of be like the villains, are more of like the aliens that are controlling us. And he flips back and forth between this as they kind of, what pill do you want? And he's so confused. So I'm thinking, when he goes to pick up the girl that he met from the TV commercial, and yes, I do remember those quite a bit. Never called them, but I do remember them. He is in one reality where she's beautiful and all that. In a different reality, she looks like she does towards the end, all messed up looking. So if he were to jump a little bit or shift, she would be coming up to his car as like a hooker that looks like she's got diseases and her lips all met, so he's shifting, which is why he's confused. And like the house that he's in, or the apartment that's his, and he's drawing her, is actually that crack house. They're not on a sofa, they're on the mattress. And she's there and she's a junkie. Does any of that?
I will say there's a lot of mirrored shots, and there's a lot of duality of the ideal vision of what's happening, and later there's Henset, and time is disjointed, as you said. I think that I'll go the David Lynch route, or one of these filmmakers who, I don't necessarily want to spell it all out in the way that I saw it, but you are talking about things that I definitely had discussions with Rich and Andy as we were putting this story together. This is, Donnie Darko was a big influence. And just, where are we? Like, what time frame are we in? When did this all initiate? And, is this just mental illness, accelerated with drug use? And it is an unreliable narrator we're seeing this through. Are you really in the midst of this witch cult cosmic horror experience? Or is this just mental illness and you're just not seeing things correctly? So everything that you just pointed out, I want that type of analysis, and some of it was certainly intentional.
Yeah, it is when you watch the film, this is definitely it's talking definitely about drug abuse and homelessness. So is that something like subjects that are important to you to kind of add into the film?
Well, being in LA, I think it's just if you lost your mind. I think we've all had a moment in time where we've been up late at night and you're just like, what if I'm the craziest person in the world and no one is telling me? And I just think everything's normal, right? You have those fun moments where you just kind of question, do you even know what reality is? When the bills come, you got to pay the bills and you got to go to work 9 to 5. You're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that, unless Neo, this is the Matrix. It's just a simulation. But
yeah.
I would say that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh no, go on, please.
On the homeless thing, here in Los Angeles, the homeless population is so visible, and you interact with these folks every day, and you just, when you see someone just in the middle, noon, middle of a Wednesday, and you're just going to work, and you see someone screaming at the clouds with all the intensity and belief in their heart, it's like, my God, what is happening in that person's mind right now? And then we have this, whatever, sometimes we call it new homeless, which is that person which has all happened to us at a gas station. Hey man, I just broke down. Like, you got any money I can spare? And at first he checks out. This person checks out like, oh, look kind of normal. But then you start looking at them and there's things that are off. And you're like, okay, I don't think that this person really just happened to break down and they need to get back to Palmdale and their debit card's not working anymore. I think something else is happening here. So that was sort of what we were modeling for Jonathan / Frankie. Is he's the person who has found himself in this situation. I literally have to go up to gas stations and ask people for $3 because I got nowhere else to go and no one else to ask. And is he that person who needs help and ought to be, in a homeless shelter, under supervision? Or is he a guy who really has had such an unbelievable string of bad luck and stuck in this conspiracy that no matter how much he tries to explain it, you will never believe it? So the homeless thing comes from just kind of LA experience or big city experience and interactions and wondering what brought this person to this point. Why are they on this corner now asking for $3 and screaming at the clouds?
Yeah, write what you know. If you live in LA, then put drugs into your film, put homeless into your film, and some people may show it negatively, while some people will show it. I don't mean to say positive, because I don't think homeless is being positive, but showing it in that you need to help homeless people as opposed to somebody who's saying don't. But it's write what you know. I mean, if that's the area that you're in, throw that into, because we all have that. I mostly have the experience of being at like Walmart or Smith's, and I always hear behind me, "Excuse me, sir." And I know it is never, "Would you like $1 million?" And it's just isn't. It is always the same thing. If I got some change on me, sure, whatever. It's just change, spare change. But a lot of times I don't. And it's like, I can't help you. I'm sorry. And then they'll move on to somebody else. And it's unfortunate. But it's stuff that you can put in.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, 4 out of 5 times it probably is someone asking for money to get their next fix, or go buy some alcohol. But 1 out of 5 times, that person may really be in a tough situation that those $3 could have helped them out. And when you're just bombarded by it daily, you become numb. But that was really the homeless crisis here in LA was so off the charts that it was something that when we were putting this, instead of just another like normal guy just kind of going to high school classes and having problems in PE class and chemistry class, we wanted to make it something like you said, I'm seeing around me. And is Jonathan that 1 out of 5 that really is just needs someone to really take him seriously and give him a few bucks and he could solve his problems? Or is he the other percentage that real needs intervention because of drug use and mental illness?
Yeah, because it was, I remember once I was out by a 99-cent only store, and this guy asked me, he goes, "Oh yeah, the bus was right over there." And he's just like, "Well, can you loan me some money for the bus?" I said, "Fine." And then when I came out of the store, he was buying drugs. It's like, oh, well, that's what he chose to spend the money on.
And if you had the worst 72 hours of your life and you suddenly had no shoes on, just socks for whatever reason, and you're like, I gotta go to, I'm going to the gas station to ask some nice people for money, and which Jonathan does, and then people are just looking at you like, nope, you're just another dude going to buy drugs. Again, how would you explain yourself out of that situation? I'm not that guy. I know who you think I am, but I'm not that guy. I just needed some help, honestly. It would fall on deaf ears most of the time.
Just whatever you do, if a guy and his girlfriend come into the mini mart and ask for condoms, don't say medium. Say, "Oh, would you like large?" Because then the guy who he does ask change for, wouldn't want to beat him up. Because he got embarrassed.
Holding a grudge for weeks.
Yeah,
I knew our paths would cross again.
Yeah, when I see that guy, how dare he say medium? Good thing he didn't say small. I'm an alpha male.
Yeah. I'm going back to the grandma getting the change and Frankie kind of tripping out. That number 1366 repeats over and over and over again.
I got that right there. Yeah.
And again, I was a big Art Bell, George Norrie Coast to Coast listener, and I always enjoyed late at night hearing all their different different ghost stories, Bigfoot, UFO abduction, but they'd get into remote viewing. The Hat Man, right? Sleep paralysis and the Hat Man, the man in black standing in the doorway. But there's a lot of things on like synchronicity or when numbers start lining up, or you start seeing the same thing over and over again, the glitch in the matrix. So we wanted to weave that throughout the black string, that something is afoot, something is going on. And again, the sort of question is Jonathan going crazy, or is he cursed? And that's what we want audiences to sort of, from scene to scene, be trying to answer that question for themselves right up to the end.
Yeah, and I know some people do like answers. I like that you don't explain his past, and you even bring that up. I don't need to know his past. I just know something bad happened in high school. I don't need an explanation. I just know that they're saying it's happening again.
Yep,
So,
we did that for a reason, because if we give you enough, you can paint the picture. You went to high school. You know those folks that had trouble and the different kinds of trouble, so you can kind of fill in the details for yourself.
yeah, it's like, a lot of zombie movies. I don't want to know what starts the virus. I don't want to know. We just know that something happened.
Right.
And is it man-made? Is it whatever it is? I like not knowing. Some of them work really well. 28 Days Later, they say it's from the monkey, but overall, I don't. Oh, and I was about to say Night of the Living Dead. So that is my all-time favorite horror movie and zombie movie. So thank you for putting that in the film.
Our pleasure, and also out of necessity. You've seen it in many movies because it's public domain. And we wanted to join that alumni group. We couldn't afford to pay for anything else. We certainly couldn't afford to shoot anything. So I gladly put that in. There's a legion of horror movies that have used that footage, and I'm happy to now be one of those movies as well.
Yeah, I found where you decided to do a cut on it. It's just, you're seeing kind of the trailer in the background, and then it just goes night, and then it cuts to another scene. Did you decide to cut it on night, and instead of just Night of the Living Dead, we just got night? Why was that?
Yeah, because Night of the Living Dead, it just when we were hearing the sound mix and everything, it's such a well-known brand. It's delivered with such authority. It sort of can bump you for a moment, and you already know. If you know, right? And just to have Night of the Living Dead could almost be too on the nose, too cute for our use at that moment. So
Yeah.
we wanted to massage it in there.
Yeah, and I like that it was just night, and then it goes to another shot, because I think a lot of people sometimes play it for too long, and it's and that voice from the trailer. It's a famous voice. But I like that. Another movie reference that I saw on there, this was a weird one for this type of movie. Time Cop? There's a Time Cop poster in Jonathan's room. Why Time Cop?
Well, it plays with time, right? We're jumping through.
Oh, duh. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
why Time Cop then for time? Why not a different one?
I think it was, again, available. Melanie, our awesome art production designer, she had help, but not a ton. It was a very small team, and she was just running around like a banshee, getting sets ready. And as soon as we're done with one, running to the next. So I kind of gave her a theme of like, hey, if we could find any posters that are little nods to our themes of, cosmicism or time travel or all parallel dimensions, grab something. So she had an option. She had probably had money to grab 4 or 5, and out of that batch, Time Cop was the closest, sort of thematically. It's just a little Easter egg. It worked. You brought it up, and it's there intentionally. I don't know. Maybe we had Indiana Jones and like Roger Rabbit and 2001, and it was like, it's Time Cop. It may be Back to the Future. I don't know.
Yeah, Back to the Future would work too. But I like Time Cop because a lot of people have forgotten about Time Cop. And it's a decent film. It's not bad. So it's just like, we should remember it. I tend to, when I do these one filmmakers, I'll watch the movie just for pure enjoyment. Then I'll go back and then I'll watch it again and take notes. And that's when I'm looking at everything. And if I see something that's a little weird, like a Time Cop poster being in, you know, this horror film, I'll write it down. Like, why is Time Cop in this? So I like to find those weird, you know, kind of little things that, like you said, little Easter eggs that help things.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on the extras, all the artwork, the little booklet, the little quote booklet that he looks at, everything. We really took time and worked with some awesome artists to make those all little Easter eggs and fun. Those are the movies I like. I love movies on a second and third watch. You find things, and I make a movie that I want to watch and give it rewatchability.
Yeah, and it's there are parallels. Like at the beginning of the film, Jonathan's parents give him the kind of, you know, the little book for like you know, growth and self-help and all that.
Yeah,
But then later he then gets the book that's all about witchcraft.
correct.
And this is, you know, the first thing that's going to happen to you. The second type of thing. It seems that there are these kind of ongoing parallel things where things are good at the beginning, like I'm jogging for my health. Now he's at the end, he's running because he could be killed. You know, he could
Right.
be. So it's like, that was interesting to me that this whole thing was going on with him. And the people that, you know, that you kind of, you know, the actors and the characters that I thought were, you know, one, we'll kind of look at this from the kind of from the beginning. You know, we brought these two up, and from the audio commentary, you mentioned that they came out for the day, and I enjoyed this because the guy, there's two alpha males in this, and they both mention alpha male, and or at least he does, and then there's Eric, who I think maybe in the audio commentary you say alpha male, or one of you guys say alpha male, but I see this guy being really insecure that there's a problem. I mean, if you got to tell somebody you're an alpha male, you're probably not. If you're so, and it's this scene I did think was funny because I did catch when he's asking for condoms, medium, and that's not going to play well with this guy. So, you know, no wonder he gets irritated. But he's going home. He's going to have sex with her anyway. So, you know, it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, they did a great job, and it's the life that Jonathan is not living. He's stuck behind the counter till 2 a.m. while everyone else is coming in for their party favors or condoms. And you know, there's a real yearning even to I mean, obviously he's desperate for connection. Jonathan's desperate for a connection. And this guy, in the classic sort of school bully, hot cheerleader, who still kind of might have a little interest in the nerd. She gives Jackie Moore, played by Jackie Moore, you see she gives him little looks. And again, are these little looks he's perceiving as, ooh, she kind of gave me a look, or is she really kind of eyeing him? Is this super alpha male really testing him, or is Jonathan just perceiving, you know, that sort of insult and challenge to himself? I'm happy to play it literally, but I think that a lot of, again, we have an unreliable narrator. Like, how is Jonathan perceiving the world?
Yeah, and in this film, to a degree, a very small degree, I can kind of relate to, because it's funny. Is the first picture that I showed of Frankie Muniz, he's out leaning up against that post and he's watching skateboarders.
Yeah.
Well, I work at a storage facility and I live on property, and right across from my apartment are skateboarders. So I could see them from my apartment, and from time to time I've gone out, to kind of watch them, because they're constantly falling down and they're doing tricks and all that. And it's just kind of funny. I'm like, I've done that same thing. You know, that okay, I'm getting it. Go on.
I wanted to capture, you say, write what you know. I didn't want to do a haunted house out in the woods, and I didn't want to do a big city, although I do live in Los Angeles. I didn't want to do, like, the brick facades of Chicago or Boston. and you're just in this like metropolis. I grew up in the suburbs in San Diego, Escondido, and these are the things, you know, high school, we'd go skateboard in the parking lot, or the things that you see, you know, building the suburbs as a world. And certainly we're not the only ones who've done it, but I wanted this firmly to be in that SoCal suburbs, in the way that Poltergeist in those 80s movies, if you lived in this, you know, in this the Southwest, you just recognized it. It felt so real. You didn't see those movies because they were always in the deep, dark woods of the Northeast or the Northwest, or the big cities with the oldest building in New York City, you know, Rosemary's Baby is super haunted. For us here in the Southwest, it was just, everything was new, and it was cul-de-sacs, and it was 7-Elevens and baseball fields, you know? So I wanted to build that world. If I ever get to make a movie again, I'd like to play in that environment again, because it's what I know, and I'm not the only one. Like, it's just so familiar, and I love making the familiar weird and freaky.
Oh yeah, that's the best. So, well, I'm putting this up again because I was thinking, what, you know, especially after the gas station scene, like, what happened to this guy? Because Jonathan has a rash. He has, you know, on his arm. He has it on his side that he got from like a one night stand, and because he called that number on TV, and so they get into, this guy here, Mr. Alpha. They get into like a fight, and then as Jonathan leaves, he goes, "Hey, check this out. You got it now." And I'm like, does he? What if we followed him? What if there was the black strings and we follow this guy who then goes to have sex with his girlfriend and goes, medium jerk, throws the condom away, has sex with her, and it starts all over again? Because it just can't be a tiny cult. It's a much bigger picture where this is now turning into anybody can have this happen to them. And there's these cults. And that's how much I enjoyed this film. Is I'm picturing different, is it time travel? Is it the Matrix? What happened to this guy? Did he, you know, is he, you know, just, you know, how dare he, you know, and then have sex with the girlfriend and infecting both of them. And it's like, that's how much I enjoyed this film.
I appreciate it. And again, I think everything works on two levels. That may very well be like, ooh, you shouldn't have touched that. But, you know, they shouldn't have touched that rash. That's what you get for fighting people. That's what you get for starting a fight with someone. But on the other side, it's kind of funny and humorous, and we know it too. You know, when, again, someone really out of their mind with their pants around their ankles, and God knows what rash is going on from just lack of hygiene, and you feel like, am I gonna have to push this guy away? Like, what happens if he attacks me? Part of your math is, I don't know if I even should touch that person. So,
right.
Our friend there at the gas station decided to pick a fight, and he's going to be, you know, he's going to urgent care the next day to go get some cotton swab tests done.
Yeah, so some little you know, side film or something with you know, yeah, now he's in the hospital, and we see, because I kind of took it that since he got, you know, insulted, you know, you embarrassed me in front of my girl, he is a small. The condom that he would probably wear is small, because you know, you gotta be, you know, he's gonna get the large. But then when he gets back, it should have been small because of the way that he is. And that scene at I love unusual locations. And to me, a gas station, not just the mini mart, but where the pumps are and everything, is an unusual location. And I love shooting outside. I love that most of this film takes place during the day. There's very few night shots. Was that budgetary, or was that always planned?
Yeah, again, really trying to make the familiar suburban experience. When we go night, it's intentional. But day, we wanted it to be just a normal experience. Like, you're just, how wild can we make this in the middle of the day? So that interaction at the gas station couldn't have happened at night, but there's probably some story logic just the chronology of events. So we were not afraid of making this happen in the bright sunlight, because you know you're in trouble when weird stuff's happening and the sun is out. You can't blame the full moon at 2 a.m.
Yeah, that's why I think movies are scarier during the day, because you could see what's coming right at you. You know, if you're Friday the 13th and you're in the woods and it's dark, well, okay, Jason will just pop out of the darkness. But if it's in the daytime and you see Jason just running right at you, and it's just like, oh, what do I do? He's coming right at me. I think that's scarier than some stuff that's at night.
Absolutely. And, you know, this wasn't this is a mental mind, you know, F for lack of a better term. So we're not trying to, you know, have jump scares left and right or anything, but really just put everyone in a very Lovecraftian sort of unsettled, what is real, what is not, one man against the world, trying to explain it and understand it, and no one is going to understand or agree with what you're saying. So that happens in broad daylight in the middle of the day. That's when you know there should be no excuses.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And that's one thing that I really do enjoy about this. And, you know, just to show people, you know, what I'm saying is, you know, like this is the homeless guy. This is homeless Mike. And, you know, he did a great job. And I would believe that if you were making a movie and I didn't know it, and I walked into this place and saw him there, I would probably turn around and leave, because I'm just like, oh, great, there's a homeless guy inside there. What's going to happen? I'm going to split. He did a really good job. So very authentic.
That's why when we were casting and Gary became an option, it was like, we just couldn't, we had a lot of clean cut younger guys for that sort of mirror of Frankie. But he was so convincing and just kind of has played this role before that we were happy to adjust that and say, let's go with authenticity here.
Yeah. And it's something that I think that I've told people this, you need to believe what you're seeing on the screen. It could be science fiction, it could be horror, it could be comedy, it's a drama. You have to believe, like you can't just go, oh, it's a horror movie. You just have to forgive it. No, you should be able to, if you walk down the street or go into a store and see this guy, you're supposed to go, I would walk the other direction. It needs to be believable. And some people don't care about that, but it has to be.
Yeah, agreed. You know, that's when it comes to just that why things work on camera and sometimes they don't. A big thing is texture. It really is, you know, dirtying the face. It's a little spritz of that light oil that makes them look sweaty. It's texturing the clothing, throwing dust and dirt on the clothing, because so often with these movies, they kind of pull the wardrobe right off the rack and it's just too clean, doesn't look lived in. Going back to the military thing, that's one big giveaway, is like sometimes things are just way too clean. They don't look worn, they don't look lived in.
They have the crease.
Yeah.
Like they just pulled it out of a bag.
Yeah. And those are the little things that start to add up and you're like, wait, this doesn't look lived in. Because your eyes detect, your mind, your experience, what lived in, textured, worn things, frayed. Like if you don't have to return it to the prop house or the wardrobe house, like get a little sandpaper, get something, kind of rub it, get a little loose threads, get some fuzz balls. Like all those things do show up and add up. So with Gary playing homeless Mike, we definitely, Galaxy and our makeup team and then the wardrobe team took care to make him look authentic.
Yeah, and the other people that I really like in this, of course, are are Jonathan's parents. These two cracked me up because it's the over-loving mom and the dad who's just like, I'm done with this crap. It's just like, how much longer do we have to deal with this? But he's doing it because it's his son and he loves his wife. And, I do love when Jonathan's nose bleeds in the car and he's like, hey, just make sure it doesn't get on the upholstery. That I cracked up during that because I could totally see that. I mean, he acts like a dad and she acts like a mom. So
really important for us to give that familiar parent dynamic. Yep. The overly doting, give him another chance, give him another chance. And then the dad who's like, he's out of chances. We're done, you know? And we don't know everything that transpired, but it's gone back to high school. So given what you might think of Jonathan's age at this point, late 20s, you know, he's been out of high school for a decade. Dad's over it. And mom is just loving. But it's also those movies where the faculty, or, you know, I mean, those invasion of body snatchers where even your close friends and your family, do you trust them? Or are they now in on it? So I think that they played, and a lot had to do with the cinematography and the way we shot it. Like even the loving parents, even dad being tough love, we had shots or moments that made you think, are they conspiring? Are they part of this greater conspiracy against Jonathan as well? So I think that they played it really great both ways.
Yeah, there's little looks and movements that they do that would make you think, uh-oh, are they part of this? The mom, and I could be wrong about this, Jonathan kind of freaks out. The parents bring him down to the ground. This is inside their house, so he's on the floor. And the mom grabs a bottle of pills, and what she pours in his mouth is that oil ooze type of thing. I'm thinking, once again, that's Jonathan's point of view. But really what she's doing is she's giving him pills to calm him down. But you could look at it as, is she part of this? Because maybe the ooze is inside there. Maybe that's where they keep it to control it.
Yep. Again, and it's pretty obvious the way it's edited, because you see it and then you don't see it. You know, how much is this Jonathan's perception? And maybe he's seeing reality. Maybe the wildest, craziest things he's seeing is the reality. So again, that was intentional. Everything is seen through the debate, you know, Jonathan going crazy, or is he really cursed? So we really tried to mirror that in from scene to scene or within a single scene, like interactions, shot to shot, things sort of changing, presenting a fractured perspective for Jonathan's fractured perspective.
Yeah. Excuse me. Oh yeah, exactly. And then Eric, I liked him. He's an interesting guy.
The ERC, the self-proclaimed ERC.
So the funny thing about that is, once again, this is something else I can kind of relate to in this, is at first I went, okay, who gives himself that type of name? You know, come on. But then way back in the day, I worked at a video store with a guy named Travis who goes, I now want you to call me T-Dog. And we're like, why? And he goes, I just want you to call me T-Dog. So for the rest of the time that I was there, I called this guy T-Dog. T-Dog, bring me that movie over there. Just people give themselves names. It's just they do it. So at first when I was like, oh, come on. Then it's like, oh, no, wait, I knew somebody who actually did that. So this is a thing.
Yep. Blake Webb is so funny, so great. The loyal friend who is T-Dog. He's everybody's version of T-Dog. Everyone knows someone back there. And he's just living his best life at this liquor store / lifestyle convenience boutique. Happy as a clam, probably dating 17, 18-year-old high school graduates as the 28-year-old. Just he's living it in the suburbs, and he's happy with just smoking weed with his little job. And that's really what he represents. He's T-Dog.
Yeah, and I like his they're in like I think it's like the stock room, and then he's smoking back there, but he's like, Jonathan, you need to leave because you're gonna like mess this all up, and there's a virus on you, and then Jonathan's like, but you're like smoking weed back here. What are you talking about? What are you doing? Like that makes no sense at all. But when he gave his title, like it's department manager, I think, correct?
Almost maybe shift manager. It's like it's
okay,
such a
shift
smaller
manager
title, something like that. Yeah.
So he's not the manager. He's really not even the shift, or not the assistant manager. He's a shift manager. If you have to say that, and I call those people tattoo employees. So these are the people where if they lifted up their shirt, they would have the tattoo of the company on there, is how dedicated they are to that company. And it's like, look, this is how dedicated I am. I even got a tattoo that, that says 7-Eleven on it. And he reminds me of that type of guy that I'm still going to smoke back here, but I'm dedicated to this company. Get out of here and go home. You're not going to spread your disease.
Absolutely. And he's the guy that is Jonathan's closest ally. So when you start to lose your closest ally, who, by the way, is a pretty fun, loving, chill guy who doesn't take anything too seriously, that really hurts when you lose that guy, Because he's the one who should be with you, believe in everything you say to the end. And as you see as you go through the movie, the ERC tries to give Jonathan, as much room as he can to go along with Jonathan's wild and become even crazier conspiracy. But in the beginning, you see he's trying to help Jonathan get back out there, go date a girl, go do this, go hook up. He's clearly also a good friend who's trying to help his Jonathan get over whatever this slump or issues he's had for a while. He's cheering for Jonathan. So when he starts to question Jonathan and even pull rank on Jonathan, you're seeing how Jonathan's becoming even more isolated. He's losing his closest ally.
Yeah, and it's like he points out when, pardon me, when the parents are there, he's like, I'm even trying to help you get girls the right way. So it's which would mean that if he did follow what he said, he wouldn't have met her.
Exactly. Chelsea Edmondson, fantastic actress, longtime friend, who started out reading for our actors. She's a friend, and I said, hey, we got like 2 days of auditions. Would you come in and read the female character, who originally was going to be like maybe a 42-year-old woman who's way rough around the edges, which would have been quite the quite the dichotomy, from what
little Mrs. Robinson there.
Yeah, from what Jonathan thought he was going to go, what date he was going to go on, and what he ended up getting on this blind date. But I heard Chelsea read for 2 days, and just her eyes and the mystery. It was like, I don't need to look any further. I've already, with Frankie, proven that it's okay to shift from what maybe you originally envisioned to best available player in a sports term. Like when you're drafting, you might think you need a tight end, but if a star safety is available, you draft best available player. So seeing Chelsea do it and make these guys squirm for 2 days over and over and over again, it was obvious. It's like, I'll go younger, because she's nailing it and she has such a great presence. So she ends up playing the femme fatale mystery woman that Jonathan, has a one night stand with, that kind of triggers this whole nightmarish journey.
Now
Dina.
Dina.
That's her character's name, Dina.
Dina. Yeah, and it's so when she and Jonathan are together in his apartment, she asks him to say, I want this to happen. Is that like, does the person have to say it? Like, let's say she was with somebody else. Do they have to say that for this to happen? Or is that she just wants to say later on, you said you wanted this to happen?
She's asking for permission. No, I think that we were leaning more towards the sort of witchcrafty, I need a willing participant. The person needs to enter this bond willingly and needs to affirm it out loud.
Okay. That makes sense. So, because she's gorgeous. And, of course, you could get, not punked, but what was that show where you think the person's good looking and they end up being, it's a catfished. He could be getting catfished, right. But he's not. So it's I think I would probably say make this happen too. I don't.
Well, and her allure and just her eyes that stare through you. They just so effective that we had to put Jonathan in that situation because she's a little fishy. There's a little weirdness going on with her approach and little signs that maybe this on a blind date where you call a 1-900 number, like, even though it's very she's very attractive and enticing. Maybe there's a lot of flags that say, hey, why don't you get a second or third date and see how it plays out? So he jumps in with both feet, and Chelsea as Dina made it really plausible as to why he would kind of look past any warning signs that might be there.
Yeah, because it's, you know, you could say, yeah, like jumping into the deep end, but the pool doesn't have any water. So he just landed on concrete. So, finding out the next morning, because in the trailer, this is what made me want to see the movie.
That's great. And this was the vision for the movie was, oh, that guy's just like at an AM/PM, right? Like I've stood there waiting to pay for my Gatorade and candy bar, but you look at it, that's Frankie Muniz, but he looks beat up, he looks bewildered, and something's going on in a very familiar place, right? Almost a fun, like AM/PMs are a little fun. They got everything, hot Cheetos, Snickers bars, like anything that you would 5-hour energy, like anything that you would want. But something's going on with that dude right there. So I thought that was a great image to encapsulate the vibe we wanted in this movie. It's dark. It makes you wonder, but it's set in such a familiar, bright place.
Yeah, and that's why I think he could become him. Years down the road, that could be him coming back to a place that he remembers. So that, I think that it could maybe be time travel, maybe. And with him, and if you want to go Matrix wise, you could say for the psychic who helps him is the, would be like Morbius or something, his side, Trinity, trying to help him, get into the real reality of what this is. And
Miss Melinda, you're right. She's the one who understands. Nobody else understands what Jonathan's talking about, but Miss Melinda does. She's seen things and she's willing to listen. She fears the power, the dark power of the world he's in right now and where it can go. So she's weary of it, but she's willing to tell him what she knows. She becomes the ally.
Yeah. And it's, in contrast to the Man in Black. So, there's your aliens that are sucking your life out of you for energy guy. He's, this is one person served their purpose. Now you're going to serve your purpose. And he's not going to try to help. So.
Exactly. And, did anyone see him besides Jonathan? Did anybody in the movie, if you should be so inclined in a year or 2 years or 10 years, watch this again. Did anybody besides Jonathan ever see this guy?
I don't know. Come to think, I don't think so. He's always kind of in the background. And
did even the couple that lives in that house, played by Oded, by the way, Oded Farrer of The Mummy.
Yes.
He's uncredited, but as a cameo. Did they even really see or pay attention to this guy?
Yeah, true. Now thinking about it, yeah, he only speaks to Jonathan, but everybody else, he's just kind of quiet, just sitting there, like an alien or a demon that's kind of waiting for this to happen. So, well, I know that you have to leave soon, and I do want to talk about a little bit and I don't want to show anything from the ending of the movie. I love the ending of the movie. I want people to see it and enjoy it. And so I don't want to ruin that at all for anybody. So this is the last guy that I wanted to show.
And this is definitely a nod to, Hat Man, the lore of sleep paralysis and the presence in your room that is wearing a hat. I have never seen that. They talk about it. If anyone wants to go watch the Nightmare, the documentary.
Now I do.
Hat Man. So that hat is intentional, but he is a bit of the tall man from Phantasm. um, Robert Blake from Lost Highway. There
Oh
is,
yeah.
you know, there is a nod to that type of, where does this person exist? Where are they from? And it is, although it's not like some laser, or not lasers, but just like some really colorful, crazy cosmic horror film that color out of space, or you see tentacles, which maybe you do in this movie. We do. There is, you know, Jonathan's becoming convinced that there's a sort of coven of witches, some suburban witch cult that's targeted him, and the mythos was definitely intentionally designed in a Lovecraftian world. You know, there is a bit. It didn't dawn on me until later that there's a touch of Dreams in the Witch House in this particular movie. So I might have read that book in high school, and it kind of sat with me and bubbled up to the surface a bit when writing the script. But there is a Lovecraftian vibe underneath all of this. So I think that people who might watch this and not pick that up, take that, you know, give it a little, pay attention to see any Lovecraftian vibes that are occurring, because the world, the myth of what the witches are up to is definitely, we wanted to kind of place it in a cosmic Lovecraftian world for those fans of that genre.
Yeah, and it works. So I love cosmic horror stuff. It's a little hard to explain to people what it is, even if you name the movies. In the audio commentary, you bring up The Void. You know, even John Carpenter's The Thing is considered to be cosmic horror. There's a lot of them out there, and it's not easy to do because it can be very confusing. So you got to really kind of sit down and map it out. And I think with, you know, the Black String, especially, you know, when he's pulling stuff out of him, that you got it. You know, cosmic horror, and but it can be difficult.
I will say that title is not just random either. There was a page that I wanted to get in, and we didn't have time to create it in the booklet, in which you've seen this sketch before of like, if you could go from one side of a black hole to the other, and it's sort of like a double funnel that connects. You've seen a schematic like this somewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
I wanted to throw that in the book, and the Black String is definitely a small little nod to string theory. As well. This thing that they're opening up. There's a portal. We talked about that. Where does this portal go to, and what comes through from the other side? So whereas Rosemary's Baby is a very traditional sort of Christian understanding of demonology and Satan and bringing forth the spawn of Satan, we are operating in a more cosmic place. You know,
yeah,
Christian understandings of evil and demons and dark things isn't going to explain what's happening to Jonathan.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to look at and to kind of study and you know, watch and then rewatch it to kind of pick up on this stuff. And even though Time Cop is not cosmic horror, it's still, like you said, fits into what you're doing, because this could be time travel. It could be another dimension. It could be a multiverse. You know, they like to, you know, everybody has multiverses these days.
Right.
So it's yeah, I really, you know, enjoyed this film. I thought everybody did a great job. I watched even the deleted scenes. At times I'll go, why did they cut that out? No, this thing was the perfect length. It was fine the way it was. And I would definitely recommend people to watch this.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to check out what scenes we deleted, and it'll trigger a whole like year of regret. Like, no, why did? But to your point, when you do start watching movies with people, 90 minutes for an indie horror film, I think this was like 93, is really the sweet spot. And there are commercial like sensibilities that you need to factor in. So we did. I look forward to seeing what scenes we cut, but there was some cool stuff in there, just couldn't fit. You know, there's always things that you wish you could put in there, but in the end, you got to move, and the audience can infer so much. If you give the audience enough to infer and move from scene to scene, then, and you didn't need that scene, even if you loved it, or it was something cool was happening. When you get to that point in the edit, they kill your babies. And you need time.
Yeah.
I would say to any filmmakers out there who are going through this or have been, you need distance from your edit, because you're so used to fighting the fight right there and making all these little things work that nobody will ever know. 6 frames here, this little audio cue here, and it's great. You need to be locked in on that micro level. But to see when you do these test screenings or you get people's feedback, sometimes you need time. Take a week off. Screenwriters, they put the draft, in the drawer, the sock drawer, for like a month, and they come back to it. Same with an edit. You need to build in time to get some distance so that the notes you're getting from the audience, you can finally see, because you're no longer, looking at it this close.
Right.
You need a little distance. I also wanted to shamelessly plug, we've been talking about it. I'm working on a Cosmic Horror documentary right now with one of the producers from Black String and The Bunker, the film we just made, starring Chelsea Edmondson. That's more science fiction. Tony Todd and Tobin Bell are in it.
Yeah.
Super cool. There it is. Charles and I are now doing a documentary on cosmic horror for all the reasons that you talked about. It's an awesome genre that isn't that well understood, but it's everywhere. Our tagline right now is from Lovecraft to Stranger Things and everything in between, because
nice
cosmic horror, Lovecraftian horror, really is at a zeitgeist in pop culture at this moment. So we're charting kind of the historical development of cosmic from Lovecraft type literature to the Stuart Gordon movies of the 80s to Darabont's The Mist. The Void, is a great indie movie. Benson and Moorhead's indie, The Endless, and other films.
Oh
and,
my God,
and
they're
Stranger
brilliant.
Stranger Things kind of just blew it out of the water of just making cosmic horror a pop culture phenomenon, even though people still don't know the term.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people even know that they're watching cosmic horror. I think that's why Stranger Things was such a huge hit, is because it was so weird to people. Like, what is this? What am I watching? And they would have no idea that they're watching a cosmic horror show. So it's that's what it is. That's it's just difficult to explain. You just, even reading Lovecraft, it's not. I think a lot of people would be confused reading Lovecraft, because you would read him and he would just go, what Bob saw was horrible, and that's it.
Undescribably horrible, or the point is, things are beyond human comprehension. So the challenge that artists, be they writers, painters, photographers, filmmakers, is you're trying to convey to people an unknowable level of horror that the human mind cannot comprehend. The challenge, though, is that I need you to comprehend the movie I'm making. I need you to comprehend the novel I'm writing. So that is something we explore in the documentary, is how does an artist deal with that? Something that is so crazy would make your mind melt if you saw it in real life. But I need you to follow and enjoy my film or my book. So cosmic horror is a difficult thing, but it's having huge pop culture success. So, Guillermo del Toro is one of the big Lovecraft spokespeople out there. There's a lot of Lovecraftian elements he has in his films. So you can make it for pop culture sensibilities, but there's a lot of very avant-garde movies, Beyond the Black Rainbow, Mandy.
Mandy.
There's movies that are really almost experimental and try to pull you into that cosmic feeling of cosmic dread. You just feel unsettled. Things are wrong, but you can't explain why. So, Stranger Things does it in a very Hollywood-friendly, fun way. And then you have your more auteur filmmakers that are pushing the boundaries. I'd say a movie like Annihilation, which is a great book, that gets pretty weird. Annihilation.
Yeah, I really liked Annihilation. Yeah, never read the book, but I like the movie.
The book's awesome. And the book is a pretty close. I'd say the movie is a pretty close adaptation of the book. There are differences, but it's pretty close. So it is a great read. Anyways, if anyone got interested in hearing about cosmic horror, look for a documentary coming out soon. We have great interviews. And then this movie, The Bunker, while it is not cosmic, we do play with what's real. I'll leave it up to the audience. You can decide if it's cosmic horror or not, but we're a little more on the good old aliens invading Earth. But again, the lovely Chelsea Edmondson, who played Dina in The Black String, is back as Michelle Riley in this film, and she's stuck down in a bunker trying to figure out what's real and what isn't, as this team of scientists has to develop a bioweapon to stop the alien invasion. Start to see haunting, very Event Horizon, which, by the way, some say is cosmic horror. So I would say that this is our little indie version of the Andromeda Strain meets Event Horizon.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay.
Yep. And starring the late, great, co-starring the late, great Tony Todd, and Tobin Bell also features in this movie. So it's available now.
Yeah, that's a good. Where could people see it?
Anywhere you can rent or buy a movie. So Amazon, Apple TV, Fandango, Google Play. So a ton of platforms. It's not on Netflix. It's not on Tubi, where you can just play it for free, but it is available anywhere you can buy or rent a movie.
Well, it's your new film, so yeah, you got to, I think, isn't the Black String is on Tubi?
Yeah, so the Black String is available. I think it's on Amazon Prime for free now. It's on Tubi for free. It's been out. We were released at the end of 2019, and then 3 months into the movie being out, COVID hit. So what are we? The 6-year anniversary right about now. The world got shut down pretty much 6 years ago. So we had a great festival run, went to some amazing festivals around the world, but right when the movie came out, the world had bigger issues than watching little indie horror films. So I'm glad that you came across this and wanted to talk about it. I love talking about it. We put so much effort into it, and it was truly for the filmmakers out there. This was a ultra low budget film per SAG guidelines, and we put a lot of sweat equity and a lot of heart and soul into this. We built sets. Rich Handley and I were building sets in his backyard for our little insert shots. I was in my kitchen making kid ooze that ended up being the portal in a frying pan, and videotaping it, and then playing around green screening it in Premiere Pro to see how I could flip it and stick it on walls. And it was funny. It truly, I want everyone to understand that this was a real indie experience, indie film experience for us. And we made a lot happen with good old elbow grease. So
sounds like
go make your movie, because we did.
Yeah. It shows that you can do it. And then if you, want to see a really cool film with, Frankie, Muniz, who you wouldn't expect in a role like this, check out The Black String. So I'm going to put a link down to Tubi down there. And then I'll also put the link to The Bunker, for the trailer for it, so people can check it out. So
awesome. Yeah. And, Malcolm in the Middle, the reunion is coming back. So if you feel like revisiting, Frankie all these years later, make that a double feature. I think that comes out in a month. Go watch Malcolm in the Middle reunion show, and then check on The Black String to see his version of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, because I'll make this fast and I'll let you go. You've seen that little joke where Bryan Cranston wakes up and the wife is there, and he's like, "My God, I had this horrible dream that I was a drug dealer." And I was saying they could do the same thing with Frankie Muniz, that he could wake up and go, "Oh my God, I thought I was a drug addict and kept hurting people and everything." And then Bryan Cranston, as the dad, pops his head in, and he's like, "You have no idea," So you get the connection with them. So
oh my God, we should. It's not too late to pitch that somewhere, and then The Black String is just like gets 1 million views overnight. The last thing that I will say is that Frankie is such a talented guy. He blew us away. You don't work on a show like he did for as long as he did, starting at 6 years old or 7 years old, and not be an absolute consummate professional. That guy could memorize more pages than anything. He had a binder this thick. I thought he looked like the script supervisor walking around with how much he had, and he'd point continuity issues out. He had wonderful ideas in the moment, and his sense of humor is always there. It's absurd. It's absurdism, right? It's so absurd what he's going through. So you see that nervous energy that Frankie's known for, and it's used in a darker way for our movie. So I have nothing but gratitude and respect for what Frankie Muniz brought to the screen in our little movie. He didn't have to do this, but he loved the script and he wanted to go for it. And he was racing cars and playing drums. He's like, why not go make a little horror movie?
Yeah, there you go. So, all right. Well, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. And then if you'd like, have you back on for The Bunker. You know, we could talk about that because I'm very curious to see that. I really like that trailer. And thanks everybody for watching this. So I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for checking this out, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.